build a coal-powered plant, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them.
Obama kept that promise, and Pennsylvania coal paid the price. Mitt Romney's energy plan is different.
And by the way, I like coal. People in the coal industry feel like it's getting crushed by your policies. I want to get America and North America energy independent so we can create those jobs.
For Pennsylvania, the choice is clear.
I'm Mitt.
The National Academy of Sciences published a 5-year study that showed that every freshwater fish in America is now contaminated with mercury. It's coming from coal-burning power plants. And we're living today in a science fiction nightmare. I pay $30 for a fishing license every year in New York State. But today, every fish in New York State has dangerous levels of mercury. Every freshwater fish, dangerous levels of mercury in it. So this industry has essentially privatized all the fish in New York State. In order to make themselves richer, they've stolen something from the public and made it so that we can't use it anymore. The Constitution of New York says the fish of the state belong to the people. Everybody has a right to use them. Nobody can use them in a way that will diminish or injure their use and enjoyment by others. This is called the public trust doctrine. It's 2,000 years old. It was in the Code of Justinian, it's in the Magna Carta, and it's in the Constitution of every state. It applies to the waters, all the commons, the fish, the water, the air, the public lands, wandering animals, etc. So, and if CDC, according to CDC, 1 out of every 6 American women now has so much mercury in her womb that her children are at risk for a grim inventory of diseases, including autism, blindness, mental retardation, heart, liver, and kidney disease. I actually got my levels tested recently. My mercury levels are 10 times from eating fish, because I fish a lot and I eat the fish, are 10 times what EPA considers safe. I was told by Dr. David Carpenter, who's the National Authority on Mercury Contamination Toxicity, that a woman with my levels of mercury would have children with cognitive impairment, with permanent brain damage. I said to him, you mean she might have it? He said, no, the science is very certain today. Her children have some level of permanent neurological injury, probably, he said, at my levels, an IQ loss of about 5 to 7 points. Well, today, according to CDC, there are 647,000 children born in this country every year who've been exposed to dangerous levels of mercury in their mother's wombs. Well, that's the cost of coal that they don't tell you about when they say it's only 11 cents a kilowatt hour.
In 1908, Shin Nippon Chiso built a factory in Minamata, a small fishing village in Kumamoto, Kyushu. The company manufactured nitrogenous fertilizers and soon became the major industry in Minamata. By the mid-1950s, Shin Nippon Chiso had become the industry leader in its field. In 1954, the Sanitation Office of Minamata City began receiving reports of an unknown epilepsy-like affliction, which has since become known as Minamata disease. Since the cause of the disease had not been identified, patients were isolated to prevent spread of the disease. Minamata disease is a neurological condition. Mercury poisons the central nervous system, damages the sense of balance and motor skills, which leads to increasingly intense body convulsions and ultimately death. In 1957, the Minamata Disease Research Group of Kumamoto University announced that Minamata disease is a toxic disorder of the central nervous system caused by certain organic mercury compounds transmitted through the intake of seafood. They isolated organic mercury as the sole cause through a series of experiments on cats. In the same year, extremely toxic levels of organic mercury were detected in the human patients. The report submitted to the Ministry of Health and Welfare stated that the underlying cause was organic mercury in seafood, and the wastewater discharge from the factory was suspected. Afflicted patients continued to be found until 1960. A rash of babies were born with brain damage and extreme physical disabilities. The governor of Kumamoto requested a voluntary ban on catches of seafood from the bay.
Another reason to be deeply alarmed by coal mining is that it is destroying our mountains. If future generations are to have adequate water supplies, mountains have to be carefully protected because all of the world's major rivers and many of the smaller ones start off as streams in the mountains, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. Mountains are up there in the clouds and get more rainfall than lower elevations. Removing the coal seams removes the aquifers and replaces them with mine spoil, according to the National Research Council's Committee on Groundwater. Furthermore, when the mountain tops are exploded, millions of tons of soil, rock, and toxic heavy metals within the earth bury the streams in the valleys, impeding their flow to the rivers. These streams are permanently lost, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Since 1992, 2,000 miles of streams have been buried due to surface mining in the United States, according to Peter Harrison, who is with the Clean Energy Campaign with the Waterkeepers Alliance in New York, New York. If you dry up the streams that feed our rivers, the rivers will demise, and the country will become a desert.
I think that the crisis of water and the way we are treating water and displacing water is as much a cause of climate change and global warming as greenhouse gas emissions. And we are an Earth, a planet drying up.
Also, I should mention, the heavy metals in the mine spool poison the water with acid mine drainage so that the streams become dead, fish cannot live in them, and the water is undrinkable. Another problem with coal-burning power plants is the acid rain that is added into the environment, along with the fossil fuel exhaust from automobiles and industrial smokestacks. It seems the whole earth is struggling for survival due to the effects of acid rain. Fossil fuels are very toxic. They contain radioactive substances such as uranium and thorium, as well as carbon monoxide, toluene, xylene, and benzene, heavy metals, PAS, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and more. Coal even contains mercury, lead, and arsenic. One serious problem with acid is that acid rain is changing the chemistry of the earth. The Dutch government says whole ecosystems may be lost if acid rain is not brought under control. By 1990, the acid rain, along with habitat loss, caused a massive decline in species in the Netherlands. For instance, 944 species of fungi had disappeared or were threatened with disappearing. 40% of moss species declined in number and lost vitality, especially those sensitive to acid rain. 71 species of flowering plants went extinct, and 497 species declined in number. Many species of fish, birds, and butterflies also declined in number. Many trees were dying. We know from centuries-old records, such as travel diaries, that many flowers in the United States have been destroyed. In Canada, 14,000 lakes are dead. Nothing can live in them due to acid rain. Another 150,000 are at risk. The United States has thousands of lakes with chemical composition that cannot support the life of any fish. In New England, only 4% of streams, 173 streams, are dead. In the Adirondacks, 14%, 181 lakes, are dead. In the Mid-Atlantic Highlands, 14% of streams, 3,962 streams, are dead. And in the Mid-Atlantic coastal plains, 51 to 50% of streams, 3,216, anywhere between 3,216 and 3,400 and 3,345 streams are dead. Carbon is dissolving in the ocean as carbonic acid. We are acidifying, lowering the pH of the ocean with consequences we can't even begin to know fully, said Dr. David Suzuki, a Canadian broadcaster, author, and filmmaker. One reason a low pH can kill aquatic biota is that it changes the form of heavy metals such as aluminum, cadmium, and mercury into a mobile, soluble form that can bioaccumulate in the tissues of aquatic biota such as clams, crayfish, plankton, seaweed, as they take in food and water. How does aluminum, cadmium, and mercury get into the water? These highly toxic heavy metals occur naturally in soil, rocks, and water, and are dissolved by acid rain and then are washed into waterways when it rains. They are also spewed into the environment by coal-burning power plants, municipal waste incineration, and medical waste incineration and other sources. When humans and wildlife such as loons, ducks, eagles, otters, mink, bears consume aquatic biota, they have metals in their tissues. They too bioaccumulate metals. The aluminum is widely associated with fish kills since it collects around the gills of fish and strangles them to death.